let me take you through the field. We have over in the top left corner, as I'm facing it, a farmhouse. I'm yet to complete the gates, but I just stuck some bits of cardboard in there. Obviously the farmhouse isn't quite complete yet, but since I wanted to make the most of the wife and kids being in, I thought I'd get it down and also give some sort of terrain to it. And in front of the farmhouse we have 3 small fields of crops, and down the centre we have a road running through it. Basic, but I've been concentrating on doing figures rather than terrain. I also have a small wood here, and another house or large farmhouse on the far top right here, with a couple of fields in front of it, and the rest of the terrain is there. So if I just pause for a moment and do a handheld, just panning across. This measures 2 meters by 1 meter, and I haven't got anything bigger than that, so that will have to do, and anything else would be too large for this room anyway, so it's quite ideal really. So I have over here every completed figure that I've done, and it's taken up 6 of these boxes, so I shall now presume to remove them and assign them positions on the table. Position these is if I get a 1 or a 2, they're on this side of the field, which if French or British, as I'm taking them out of the box. If they get a 3 or a 4, they're in the centre, which goes from the edge of that hedge to about halfway between the house, and if I get a 5 or a 6, then they're on this side of the field. So far I have a unit of French cuirassiers have appeared on their right, and the infamous devils in skirts were first out of the box, and they are sitting right over the road, which is quite convenient really, seeing as they would be some of the better troops. You'd want them in the centre, so that's quite lucky. Just behind them we have the Scots Greys, who rolled a 2, so they are skulking behind the hedges of the orchard, and right in front of the farmhouse are the rocket troops. So again, that's quite handy for them, because if they get into any difficulties, then they can just retreat to the farmhouse, carrying their rockets presumably. They've got the carts behind them, so that if they're quick enough on their feet, they can actually load up the launchers and the rockets and skulk back into the farmhouse there. So that's the first box that I've emptied. The box came the Brunswickers, who threw to be in the centre, and they're just behind the devils in skirts. In the meantime, Napoleon has arrived with his bodyguard, and Marshal Berthier is there busy writing away instructions at his desk, and Everard is there, which is quite funny since he's next to Bonaparte. Yeah? No? Nobody get that one? Jules and Sand? Bona? Okay, if you don't, never mind. So also came out, it was mainly a French box, this one. So on the French left we have 1 regiment of Vitalieri, who will form up in column, and also on the French right came the Imperial Guard regiment, and I've also put in a line there for the moment a battalion of line infantry. So far the French have 4 units out, and so do the British, which is quite convenient. Those guys are putting line, expecting an assault, but of course that may change. Next out the box were the 1st Foot Guards, and they fortunately have been put on this side in the orchard, and I didn't notice this before, but these hedges are actually just the right height for these guys to fire over when standing up, so that's a lucky coincidence. Don't know whether I measured that before. I probably didn't. I think I just cut these panel scrubbers into equal lengths and widths, so that's quite handy. Out came the 95th that I've done, so they're skirmishing in front of the other farmhouse here, in front of the line, and just behind those are the 69th South Lincolnshires, infamously referred to as les 69 by the despicable French. So they've actually got on a slight ridge here. I shoved a couple of books underneath the this grass matting, which, if some of you have been watching my channel for quite a while, you'll know that I bought these for a £5, I think, each from Lidl, these mats, and I think they're doing the job pretty damn well. So 10 quid for a battle mat is not bad at all. Okay, so let's find out who's out. The small farmhouse were the Black Hussars, so they're hiding behind the farmhouse there. Moving along the line, it's starting to take shape. 69th there, and an slightly under strength British unit is just piled up behind in the centre there. They've been stiffened with a small detachment of 95th rifles on the end there, as they're 4 men short, basically 4 figures short. And in front of the orchard and the farmhouse, linking up on the flank of the rocket troops, are the 28th North Gloucesters. I just finished these flag bearers the other day, but haven't had time to base them, so just for effect I've added those on, because it's a bit, I haven't based the commander either, who's hiding behind there, but you know, all that's the effect. So that's the next box out. So next are all the French artillery that I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 batteries there. What I'm doing now, because I'm losing track of who's coming out in what order, I'm sticking a penny behind the units that have come out to remind me what's come out this round. So anyway, we have 4 batteries of French line infantry, then I have a Prince August unit in there in green, and also on the end there the artillery I've just finished this week. So 6 altogether there, ready to pound the farm, which still has nobody in it. So somebody's got to get in there. What else came out? This was a box mainly artillery, so the British line artillery came out as well, and they're on the other side next to the farmhouse there, and they are facing, of course, towards the cuirassiers, who've just been strengthened by another detachment of cuirassiers, so that's a rather strong unit there. And also out came the dragoons, so they're behind the bois. there's absolutely nothing in the centre yet for the French. Amazing. Which will have to be the final box, no doubt. There's a lot of French left in there. Also out came the Uhlans, so they're hiding behind this side. It looks like a big assault is preparing on the farm here. Well, we've got all the artillery there, 1 unit of line infantry and the Uhlans behind them to protect the artillery if, say for example, if they can see the Scots Greys from there, they may pop their head out. Imagine that, Scots Greys charging the cavalry, charging the artillery. What's the chances of that happening? So we'll see what happened with the final box. Okay, now fortunately for the French, those last 3 units came out, which was the Esquisse line infantry and the Airfix line infantry right behind those, and also my lancers are in the centre. So we've got on the French side, we have the artillery massed on the left flank. See the commanders have come out now, and we have a regiment of infantry, line infantry, and just behind those the Uhlans. So that's their left flank. In the centre they have the Cheval Léger lancers and 2 units of infantry, which is quite well balanced. And on their right flank they have a lot more. I've just brought the artillery unit out there as well, just to add a bit of picturesque detail. Ran out of tape there. So there's the centre, and on the right flank we have cuirassiers, the guard, a battalion of line infantry, and hiding behind the woods the dragoons. I've added a few extra little trees that I found there as well, just to make the wood a little bit bigger. So that is the French disposition. I've had to add some extra lights in here because it's starting to get quite dark. So there we have the French. Now I shall just move on to the British disposition. In the farmhouse, I rolled actually a 6 to put them on the... God, I can never remember my left from my right. Okay, well in the farmhouse anyway, on their right flank, as I say, I rolled a 6 for the King's German Legion guys that I have there, who are slightly under strength, but I thought the best place for them has got to be in the farmhouse because there was nobody in there, so I put them in there. I made an executive decision to put them in there. So they have just over 2.5 battalions there in and around the farmhouse, with the Scots Greys in reserve at the back. In the centre we have Lord Uxbridge has arrived, so he's at the back there in command, but he also has the Duke of Brunswick with him in the centre with the Brunswickers, and the... oh yes, how could I forget, the Devils in Skirts, the 79th Highlanders, and behind them another regiment. So the British centre is 3 units strong of infantry, and on their left flank the skirmishers are there, 95th plus the artillery plus the 69th, and also out came another unit of hussars, so we've got very good cavalry strength there behind the farmhouse. So that side is actually quite strong, weak in infantry, but it has the artillery and the cavalry there to protect the guns. So as I'm rolling the d6, the probability should be quite equal, so it has worked out quite equal on both sides actually, which you'd expect. I don't think I need to do any rearrangement. I think I'll just leave it as it is and see how we get on. Okay. Point is I've finally finished my little diorama here of the guys sitting there around the campfire. My daughter was well impressed with the little campfire there, with the smoke coming off the fire, and we've got an injured guy already showing up, even though a shot hasn't been fired, but I added those on there as well. So I'm quite chuffed with this little model. It took me a while to finish it, but I finally got around to finishing it because I wanted to do this. So there you have it. The rules I'm going to use are these Napoleonic War Games rules that I found for free on the internet. So every measurement is in inches. So let's see what happens with that. In these rules, it's the coalition who have the initiative and get to fire first. The only unit that is in range, the range should be 48 inches, but that is more or less the whole table. So I decided to use instead a measuring stick. So by using that, which I've just placed, the rocket troops can hit the guns, and they can also hit the front of the infantry there. So they have 8 rockets, and in true rocketry style it was an absolute miserable failure. They meant to throw a 6 to hit, and there's not one 6 amongst those 8 dice, so pretty poor. What the British may well decide to do now is move up some infantry or wait on the ridge over here. So they're opting to wait on the ridge to see what happens with the French move. So we're about to start the French move now. Napoleon is putting his faith in his guns, bearing in mind that the rockets all flew up into the air or fell short or fell behind. So he has 7 guns there, and so that means 7 dice. So he's opting to use 2 guns, well, 1 gun against those 2 North Gloucesters there. So 1 gun will attempt to hit 1 company, another gun will attempt to hit the other company, and then the other 5 will try and disrupt the rocket troops. The farm isn't in range yet, so let's see what happens with these 7. Let's see, first for the company of, and that's a 3, so that's a miss. Next one is a 6 on the solid dice. So that is our first hit for the French, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they've all missed. So we only get 1 casualty there, and we have to see what happens. Means you're removed from the table 1 unit, so 1 unit has to be in the room. It's quite handy how this is worked out. I've got extra bits of board on the side, so I'm going to put my casualties there. British on this side, French on the other side, so that's where they will start appearing. So far in the first round, because nobody else is in range for the artillery or infantry or cavalry, the first exchange complete failure for the rocket men as is expected, but 1 successful hit for the French artillery. So let's move into movement. What Uxbridge has decided to do is move his artillery here forward. I've changed to centimetres because of the size of this table rather than inches, so we'll stick with centimetres from now on. Seeing as the size of the bases are in centimetres as well anyway, why not? So they've moved forward unlimbered 2 centimetres forward to start to try and get in range of the French infantry. And the skirmishers can move 8 centimetres, so they've moved forward 8 centimetres to start to get within range to see if they can provoke something over here. Bearing in mind they've got infantry on a ridge and they've got 2 units of cavalry hidden behind there. The French can probably only see 1 unit of cavalry, so may not know what is there. So we shall see what we decide to do now. Move through their own troops on their left flank, which of course has no movement impediment, so they've moved forward, and the Uhlans have moved behind the artillery with a view of helping these lancers, who've also moved forward, to attack the guys outside of the farmhouse. The centre have all moved up along the road, and the dragoons are moving through the wood, which does give a movement impediment, but they're going to move through there anyway. They're protected by the woods from the oncoming skirmishes anyway. The unit in line have moved forward in line. The cuirassiers have moved up on the flank, and the guard have also started to move forward here, so an attack developing on all 3 sides here for the British, who outnumber the French in infantry actually, but not in cavalry. The British only have, sorry, the coalition only have 3 cavalry units to the French 4, and the French have fewer guns, but what use the rockets are going to be is anyone's guess. So that is what is happening here. So movement all the way along the front. It's getting quite exciting. Sorry about the squeaky camera stand. Okay, so let's see how the rockets get on this time. And I don't think the French are in range yet with my measuring stick. Let's have a look. Actually, yes, the cuirassiers are in range of all of those guns, so let's see how they get on. So, all 8 guns are brought to bear on the advancing cuirassiers, so that's 8 dice. We need to see how many 6s we get. Ooh, 2, so that's 2 hits. So we remove those 2 guys, and the French are starting to take casualties. On the other flank, the rocket men have another go with their 8 dice to see how they're going to attack the advancing French infantry. So and yet again, a shocking display. Every single one misses. So this gamble on this flank of putting the rocket men there, they look good in their uniforms, but so far they've had no success whatsoever. The gunners on the other side, of course, showing them up by taking out 2 cuirassiers. Okay, so I don't think anybody is within rifle range yet. Rifle is 12, so so they're miles away. And Muscat is 8, so nobody's within range yet. Okay, so British movement. Let's move on to British movement, which I think will move the skirmishers forward a little bit. They can always scuttle away. They may have to start bringing the cavalry out with that advancing cuirassiers now. The artillery have probably got a choice here of they have got a choice of staying where they are or retreating in the face of this cavalry charge. Okay, so the British decide to start moving their North Gloucesters into the farmhouse in the light of these Lancers coming forward, and because the Lancers are coming forward, the Scots Greys have been sent out to intercept them. So there should be a nice cavalry melee coming up there. The centre stays where it is. They've shifted slightly over towards the flank, just moving 6 centimetres over there just to add some support there. Skirmishers move forward, artillery stays where it is, and behind the farmhouse, which you can't see, that unit of hussars that you can just see there stay where they are, but the other unit has moved forward and they're hidden by the farmhouse, so they're getting ready to come out in 2 separate units to smash into these cuirassiers as they come forward. So that's that one. Artillery fire. As there's some troops moving through the artillery there, that unit on the far left can't fire, but the other 5-6 guns can, so they're going to have another go at the North Gloucesters with 6 dice. And they get 2 more hits, so that's not a bad effort from the artillery either. Okay, so on the French left, their men have now successfully moved through the artillery and are heading towards the rocket men and the farmhouse, which the British are about to scuttle into. The Uhlans have moved forward again. They're advancing up with the Lancers, who have marched up or galloped up to the front of the field there as they've spotted the Greys coming out. And I think those Lancers are still out of range of the North Gloucesters, so we shall probably not get any hits there. Up the road, the French have moved again in 2 columns. They're heading up towards the British centre. They're outnumbered just under 3 to 1, but they have got extra strength with the dragoons coming through the woods now, and over here the guard and the line infantry have again moved up, and I've now got to move the cuirassiers because I've got to move the cuirassiers, so they are about to move. They've moved out in front. Whole French line still advancing right across. And now it's the British turn. Flipping on the French left and British right flank, I've actually written down to remind me. I'm so rubbish at this left and right business. It says a lot really. Moving inside here now are the King's German Legion. There are some windows within there. They're making loopholes to fire out. Gloucesters are moving in to the farmhouse. The gate is now open for them to scuttle in, so half will go through one gate, the other half will go through the other gate to strengthen the defence. And the rocket guys are having yet another crack at the French. The centre, nothing's changed there, apart from the skirmishers are moving back. They've seen the cavalry come out of the wood, they don't fancy their chances with that, so they are now scuttling back towards the British lines in the centre to add some firepower, extra firepower or long range firepower to take on these guys advancing up the road. Over on the British left, the Hussars are still behind the farmhouse. They've moved slightly further forward just to spring their surprise, and the other Hussars have moved forward just behind the artillery to give them some protection from the onrushing cuirassiers. So we shall now see how the artillery gets on. So the artillery opened fire with 8 guns. And that's one more hit. So the cuirassier leaves the field. So they're 3 down. Taking some casualties there, aren't they? So let's see how the rocket men surprise us this time. Will they surprise us or not? And they've got 8, they're heading towards the infantry. And astoundingly, they finally found their range and take 2 casualties from the French. So, not a bad effort there from the artillery. Nothing is in range from muskets yet, and nothing is in range from the rifles yet, which can fire 12. Nowhere near. Okay, so still an artillery and rocket battle. And the French take 2 losses. And now it's time for the French to move. So, yep, 3 more casualties there for the French. And let's see how the French artillery fire. 6 dice at the North Gloucestershires again. And they get another hit. So another man joins the ranks of the defenders' casualties. In the meantime, these guys are waiting here. The cavalry halted at the edge of the fields, waiting for the Uhlans to join them in support along the road. The columns are still advancing, still out of range. The dragoons are fully out of the woods now and heading towards the skirmishers. The infantry on the French right have formed into 3 columns, or 2.5 columns, advancing towards the artillery, and the cuirassiers have temporarily halted there as well, waiting for infantry support, which is probably wise. The bulk of the French infantry is on their right. What is going to be interesting here is that they've only got 1 unit. When I say here, I mean on the French left. They've only got 1 unit of infantry coming up, but they have got the guns, who will probably advance to join them in the assault on the farmhouse, which is going to be another major battle here. So 3 separate counters about to develop.